My name is Alexander Fisher, and this is Team 3, consisting of Patricia, Drew, Jonathan, and Camelia. So, the first Starbucks was opened in Canada in March of 1987. Since then, it has faced many ups and downs, but in recent years, it has done very well in terms of sales and is a serious competitor to Canada's largest cafe chain, Tim Hortons. In 2013, Starbucks Canada had a great year, opening more than 150 stores and becoming a $1 billion company. In 2014, Starbucks boasted 40 Starbucks locations for every 1 million people in Canada alone. However, unsatisfied with this and lacking a majority market share due to Tim Hortons, Starbucks looked to new technologies to pull ahead. Mobile payments were the next hurdle in the fight to be Canada's biggest cafe chain. Tim Hortons introduced a quick pay Tim card using NFC technology that separated itself from Starbucks and other cafes' payment systems. This new tech system was just beginning in 2013, with Google Wallet only being out for a year and a half and Square's lackluster performance in the US. There were not many options. But Starbucks was determined to lead the way in mobile payments and sought to find the best technology in this industry. Throughout history, human beings have relied on some sort of payment system to purchase the goods or services we wanted or needed. But in the golden era of technology, swiping a card just wasn't cutting it anymore. Customers and employees alike desired faster checkout times and easier access. Paying with a phone or contactless card seemed like the next step. But how to go about implementing these systems was the issue. So here's Jonathan Cheng to talk about the case's key questions.
Thanks, Xander. So in 2013, management at Starbucks Canada were certain that it was finally time to roll out a mobile payment system for the region. This was in part because of the recent strides made by their largest competitor by market share, Tim Hortons, which had launched an app that included their own version of a digital gift card along with NFC-enabled functionalities. More importantly, though, the decision to release a mobile payment system in Canada was clear because there was ample evidence that Canadian consumers had high demand for such a system. In fact, more than half of the country were smartphone users, and among them, between 6 to 10% of already use their smartphones to pay for their bills or to purchase products. At this point, while the decision to roll out a mobile payment system was clear, the key question management had trouble with was how they could successfully roll out a mobile payment system that would be easy for customers to use. Management had to consider a number of factors, such as the cost of each mobile payment solution and what phone platforms Canadians were using in order to make the best decision. Management also needed to understand the issues that Starbucks US faced after the rollout of Square. Despite expanding the service to 7,000 of its US stores and a $25 million investment Starbucks had made into Square, the rollout was still somewhat of a flop. Square payment often did not work for customers, with failure rates as high as 57%. Additionally, only company-owned stores supported Square, which meant the exclusion of nearly 30% of Starbucks stores that were individually licensed. Many employees also felt that they were not properly trained to deal with the new technology. So should Starbucks Canada proceed with a third-party solution like Square, despite its problems in the US, or perhaps one of the Bluetooth or NFC-related options? In the coming slides, we'll introduce our proposed solution to this question.
Thanks, Jonathan. Now I'm going to touch on some of our user stories that we came up with. Our first one is, as a busy professional, I want to be able to pay for my coffee so that I do not have to carry my wallet. So obviously they really need their caffeine, but they also really value convenience. And our second user story is, as a forgetful person, I want to have flexibility in how I pay for my coffee so that I do not have to carry my wallet around. So maybe they're in a rush in the morning and might forget their wallet, or just tend to be a forgetful person in general. And now I'll pass it off to Patricia to talk about some of the strategies that we considered.
Thanks, Camelia. To address the user's needs, we looked at 3 different options for mobile payment systems using 3 criteria. The first criteria was technological compatibility, which is how many devices would be able to adopt the mobile payment method seamlessly. The second criteria was ease of use for the customer, based on how much work they had to do when they were at the register paying for their coffee. The third criteria was likelihood of the user actually adopting the technology and using it while they got their coffee at Starbucks. The first strategy was the credit card near-field communication, commonly known as NFC. This allowed for customers to tap to pay using their mobile payment app of choice. While it is easy for customers to use at the register, In 2013, the technological compatibility was low since it was only available to Android phones and customers would need to buy an NFC-enabled SIM card. Because of this, the likelihood of adoption was low since they would need to go out of their way to buy the $15 card. The second strategy was Bluetooth Low Energy Beacons, known as BLEs. These would allow customers to simply walk in while the register identifies who they are and charge their card appropriately after putting in their information at their Starbucks location of choice, and they would pay without even having to pull it out of their pocket. While the technology is compatible across devices and it would be easy for customers to use, the technology is easy to abuse through credit card fraud, and it has been used mostly as a reward system rather than a mobile payment system. This has led to barriers in adoption because it isn't safe and not used necessarily for mobile payments. The last option is the Starbucks Card NFC option, where customers would need to pay using the Starbucks mobile app. The NFC capabilities would be enabled through the app rather than through the device, so they would not need to buy an extra SIM card. It is easy to use since customers only need to pay by tapping their phones with the machine. The card they would use to pay would be a Starbucks gift card, and they would have on their app, adding an extra step to the payment since they would have to refill their card regularly. That said, we believe that this is the most seamless experience for customers, and that is why the Starbucks NFC option is our proposed strategy. And now I will pass it on to Drew.
Thank you, Patricia. And with that, I will recommend our solution, which is implementing near-field communication with a Starbucks card. And this is the best solution because it is very flexible. It works with the existing Starbucks app. There's no need to make any changes to that. It's affordable. It only requires a $50 investment in a new POS terminal at each store. It doesn't require extensive training for the baristas. There's no technician required to set it up. And it does not require customers to make any changes to the hardware in their phone. It is purely a software solution, which means it can be edited digitally. So there's no need for the complicated process of having every customer get a new compatible SIM card. And another reason why we believe this is the best solution is because it is independent of any financial institution such as a bank, and it doesn't require large pools of people to sign up for a new service. It can use the existing pools of people. And with that, I will pass it off to Camelia.
Thanks, Drew. So now I'm just going to do a little recap of what we talked about. So 1, the main problem was that Starbucks Canada was lacking in a mobile payment system. They were falling behind their competitors Tim Horton, and also Square failed in the US, so they really had to find the right mobile payment system for them. 2, the mobile payment system would mostly be useful for busy professionals and for forgetful people who might forget their wallet at home. And lastly, we chose Starbucks Card NFC as our mobile payment system of choice because there is already existing infrastructure that would allow for flexible and easy implementation. It's more affordable, and also it will allow Starbucks Canada to not be bound or restricted by contracts with financial institutions. Thank you, and we will now take any questions.